Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are back with more news and politics for from around the world for Friday, the 29th of September. So, yeah, let's get into this here. First story we have ProPublica. We don't talk about Leo. The conservative legal movement in the United States is more powerful than ever. One largely unknown man has played a significant role in pushing the American judiciary to the right. Leonard Leo. And essentially all the federal and even the Supreme Court. He's had a huge hand in that. This is We Don't Talk About Leonard, a podcast series with WNYC's On the Media that explores the web of money, influence, and power behind the conservative takeover of America's courts and the man at the center of it all, Leonard Leo. Historians and legal experts say there is no comparable figure in American jurisprudence. To the extent Leo is known, it's for his role helping to install the conservative supermajority on the U.S. Supreme Court, but his reach extends far beyond that. Decades ago, he realized it was not enough to have justices on his side. Those jurists needed to decide the right cases, brought by the right lawyers and heard by the right lower court judges. He built a machine to do just that. But yeah, and they have the first episode here. In the first episode, most likely to succeed, they travel from Leo's modest roots in middle-class New Jersey to a mansion in Maine, where last year he hosted a lavish party with federal judges that fell on the night before the Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. So he's one of the monsters behind that decision. Yeah. Just a little peek at one of the things they talk about. But yeah, he's one of the demons that has set this in motion.
The court has ruled that states can decide whether abortion should be legal or illegal. Roe versus Wade is history.
The conservative majority on today's Supreme Court has been redefining Americans' constitutional rights in one decision after another. And one largely unknown man has played an outsized role in making it so.
Leonard Leo has single-handedly changed the face of the judiciary.
This is On the Media. I'm Brooke Gladstone. This week, an investigation into the man who's spent decades working toward a conservative takeover of America's courts. Because this is about way more than just the U.S. Supreme Court.
The rights revolution in the United
Yeah, it will affect a lot. And it's all this demon because he wants more money and more power. Especially to go to the right wing. So yeah, monsters like this you can blame for what's happened to the country. And another quick story from ProPublica. With shutdown looming, Biden calls out Speaker McCarthy for a terrible bargain with the MAGA Republicans. In a wide-ranging video interview being published Sunday, the president also addressed broad threats to democracy, ethical concerns about the Supreme Court, and more. President Biden said in an interview on Friday that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had made a terrible bargain, and that in order to keep the speakership, he's willing to do things that I think, he knows are inconsistent with the constitutional processes. Asked about the looming government shutdown and the impeachment inquiry that McCarthy agreed to authorize in the hopes of keeping right-wing Republicans from ousting him from his post as Speaker, Biden criticized the role of a group of MAGA Republicans who genuinely want to have a fundamental change in the way that the system works. And that's what worries me the most. He marveled that former President Donald Trump had described himself in a recent speech as retribution on behalf of his supporters, and that Republicans seemed to be encouraging it. The comments came as part of a wide-ranging interview with ProPublica contributor John Harwood that will be published Sunday morning. In it, Biden discussed everything from what he portrayed as looming threats to democracy, including the views of the roles played by Fox News and Elon Musk, to his concerns about the need for ethics reform in the Supreme Court, which we do direly need.
The Speaker's made a terrible bargain. In order to keep the speakership, he's willing to do things that I think he knows are inconsistent with constitutional processes, number one. Number two, I think it says that there is a group of mega Republicans who genuinely want to have a fundamental change in the way the system works. And that's what worries me the most.
Yep. They are willing to make it more of a kingship if they can get certain Republicans in there than as an actual democratic republic. You know, there was a lot of issues with the Founding Fathers. They have numerous, you can name off the top of your head. You know, slavery permitted. Many of them owned slaves. Many of them had affairs. But you know what? They all agreed. We do not want to live under kings anymore. We do not want to live under that kind of power anymore. We want a republic where all parts of government have a role to play, and the power is divided. But there's some people who are so in love with their right-wing gods that they want to fuck over the country. Oh yeah, Dianne Feinstein died. I'll say nothing ill, but yeah, she's dead. Continue without supporting. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is from Stars and Stripes. Military leaders back Biden decision to keep Space Command in Colorado. Military leaders on Thursday defended President Joe Biden's decision to nix U.S. Space Command's planned move from Colorado to Alabama as a necessary and non-political decision to avoid operational problems. Army General James Dickinson, who had led Space Command since August 2020, told members of the House Armed Services Committee that moving the Pentagon's newest combatant command from Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado risked losing hundreds of its critical civilian workers. But lawmakers, primarily Republicans from Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, argued Biden's July 31st decision to cancel the command's planned move to Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, was an unprecedented political maneuver by a Democratic president who is campaigning for a second term. Now, there is much that has to be done when you consider moving bases, especially to another state. Because like I said, there are a number of civilian employees. It's not just all military. But, you know, I'm sure that the Republicans don't give a damn and are just going to bitch and whine and cry. Anyway, this from a Taiwan news. Taiwan reaffirms sovereignty over South China Sea islands. Yeah, Republic of China or Taiwan. So it doesn't see itself as part of the mainland country of China, although that country proclaims Taiwan is property of China. And there is such a tense situation there. It's always been a very tense situation. In response to the latest territorial dispute between China and the Philippines, the Foreign Ministry reaffirmed Taiwan's sovereignty over all the islands in the South China Sea on Thursday. Several international news outlets reported that Philippine Coast Guards cut a 300-meter floating barrier installed by China at the Scarborough Shoal. The show is part of a group of reefs and islands in the South China Sea with competing territorial and maritime claims from different countries. China later censored the action and warned the Philippines not to cause trouble. Answering local media inquiries in the matter, the Foreign Ministry reiterated that in accordance with international law and the law of the sea, Taiwan retains all rights to the South China Sea islands and its surrounding waters. The ministry says that Taiwan supports freedom of navigation and overflight in the South China Sea and firmly opposes the use of force, intimidation, and threats. It also called for a peaceful resolution to the dispute. The ministry cited President Tsai Ing-wen's 2016 4 principles and 5 actions as a means to shelve disputes and participate in the joint development of the South China Sea. The ministry once again emphasized Taiwan's willingness to safeguard peace and stability in the region. Yeah, so, you know, more or less, they show responsibility while mainland China is, you know, being the usual jackass. Oh, I won't deny that the U.S. itself acts like a jackass, but yeah. Oh, fucking shit. Fucking shit. Hush, I am pause on this site. Now reload from CBS News, the little bitches. Iranian forces aimed laser at American military helicopter multiple times, U.S. says. Take this for what it's worth. Iranian naval forces repeatedly aimed a laser at an American military helicopter during a routine flight in international airspace over the Gulf, the U.S. military said Thursday. The helicopter, an AH-IZ Viper, is attached to a unit deployed on the USS Bataan amphibious assault ship, which was sent to the region as part of American efforts to deter seizures of commercial tanker ships by Tehran. Iranian vessels shown a laser multiple times at the aircraft while in flight. As far as I'm aware, we don't have lasers that can take down vehicles. I mean, they might blind somebody or show they're looking at it, but what else are we looking at here? I mean, lasers that exist, none of them are powerful enough to be used as an actual weapon. These are not the action of a professional maritime force. This unsafe, unprofessional, and irresponsible behavior by bunch of whining, it sounds like. From ABC News, Canadian police won't investigate doctor for sterilizing Indigenous women. And that's something Canada and the U.S. have had serious issues with in the past, is the treatment of Indigenous peoples. Police in Canada say they will not pursue a criminal investigation into a recent case in which a doctor sterilized an Inuit woman without her consent. Yeah, stuff like that should not be happening. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong buzzing as city heads into long mid-autumn festival weekend with crowds drawn to Fire Dragon dance and night markets. Weekend is first large-scale celebration of 3-day mid-autumn festival and National Day holidays since end of pandemic. Chief Executive John Lee and Finance Chief Paul Chan visit Kennedy Town Night Bazaar after Chan and Tourism Minister join crowds at Tai Hung for Fire Dragon Dance. So yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. Some news about a festival in Hong Kong. Now, time for some video news.
I do want to warn you that viewers might find this video disturbing.
What? Quit thinking about my twinkle. What's that? Quit thinking about my twinkle.
No.
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
Now it isn't what else stop.
Oh!
20 seconds. It was 20 seconds from the moment Cook approached Coley before Coley pulled a gun and shot him.
Yeah,
Coley's
Cook's
defense attorneys argued
actions were not
self-defense, and since this happened, the social
necessary.
media world has really gotten behind
Coley
Coley, saying Cook was harassing him, a complete
shouldn't
stranger.
have shot him
Now you heard
either.
Coley tell Cook to stop
He
a
was
few
not
times,
being
but then
a
pulled that
physical
gun and shot
threat.
one round, injuring the YouTuber. Coley was found not guilty of aggravated malicious wounding and guilty of shooting into an occupied dwelling because this happened inside the mall. Coley faces 2 to 10 years in prison when he's sentenced. Cook, for his part, says he plans to continue making his YouTube prank
Cook
videos. Now, prosecutors
needs
told the jury
to
that
understand
Coley brought a gun to a
many
cell
people
phone
don't
fight.
put up with that
A lot
crap.
of people have weighed in on how
Coley,
annoying that type of behavior
on his part,
was, but the jury
you don't
seemed
just
to
take out a
side
gun
with
and shoot a
Coley's
person.
argument about self-defense here, which is normally reserved for someone who feels
This is
that
why a
they
lot of people
or
in
a
America
loved
should
one
not
is in
have
very
the right
serious physical danger.
to
So
own
that,
guns.
Decision
Period.
by the jury yesterday certainly raised a lot of eyebrows. But then
Because
you see
some of
that
these
video,
motherfuckers are
and it
too
raises a whole
goddamn
new set of
stupid.
questions.
Anyway, let's look at this video here. Yeah, UAW speaks out on the violence against picket line workers.
Received some shocking reports of violence against our members on the picket lines. In Flint, a non-union contractor driving a large SUV was leaving a General Motors parts depot when they sped up and hit 5 of our members, sending 2 to the hospital in an ambulance. These cowards then immediately fled the scene. In Massachusetts, a member and a state senator were hit by cars on the picket line at a Stellantis parts depot. And in California, our members have had guns pulled on them by non-union contractors crossing the line at a Stellantis parts depot. These members and allies are in our thoughts, and we condemn this violence that GM and Stellantis are enabling. These attacks on our members, exercising their constitutional rights to strike and picket, will not be tolerated. Shame on these companies for hiring violent scabs to try to break our strike. This isn't just an attack on the UAW, it's an attack on every worker who chooses to stand up to demand more for their family.
Yeah, this action of strikes and pickets and protests, First Amendment, they have a right to peaceably assemble, to voice a redress of grievances. It is in the First Amendment of the Constitution. This is a First Amendment right. And people are trying to kill them for exercising their First Amendment rights. It's unforgivable. It really is. You should be supporting union workers. But these non-union asshats, fuck them. They should be locked the fuck up. Because what they're doing is clear. It's assault on the people who are just using their right of the First Amendment. You know, labor unions have often been pushed against because they threaten money of the rich, while labor unions should be thanked. It's like, oh goodness, thank you for doing what's right. But no, fuckers like these non-union asshats can go fuck themselves. They need to be locked up. I don't take kindly to the fact fuckers like that think they can just threaten people who are voicing their First Amendment rights. Let me pull this up here for you. First Amendment. Okay. No law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, the right to petition for the government for a redress of grievances. This right here, that's what the strike and assembly is protected by. The strike and picket and protest, though, that's protected by your First fucking Amendment. And that these asshats who want to threaten them because they're exercising their First Amendment, fuck them. Seriously. Fuck them. Anyway, we'll go ahead and end this episode right here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite sources. I'll be putting my links in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.